And yes, watch for him in the final. Now, Colin Jackson, the world record holder at 12.91. He did that in Stuttgart in 1993 in a very famous final when Tony Jarrett ran 13 flat behind him. The other British athlete, Mark Creer, has the leading time this year, but he's not here because he was disqualified controversially at the quarterfinal stage. I think this race is for Colin to win. I really do. He has the pedigree. Ross was fourth in the American Championships. Garcia is young and coming through. And if Jackson can hold his nerve and is in good form, and I think he's in pretty good form, I believe he can win. Let's go through them. Singer of Belgium in lane 1. 8th in the Europeans last year. And 13.47 in the semi-final. Good journeyman. Second in the World Student Games this year. First major global final. Would be a surprise if he got a medal of any colour. We go to lane 2. Volk Bautzer of Germany, second in the European Championships last year, behind Colin Jackson. Third in the World Indoors this year behind Colin Jackson. The Germans have 2 in the final. Not without a chance, particularly if he gets a good start. A real chance. Anier Garcia in lane 3, the Pan American champion. We've been continually telling you about Pan American form of these World Championships. 23 years of age, was injured in Athens when he was in sparkling form, and looks good enough to win. Can he make the step up? Well, Duane Ross has been the surprise packer, 26 years of age, fourth in the American Championship, been fourth in a World Indoor Final, but in new territory for him. The top 3 Americans not here in the final on times this year, and he and Tony Dees have made it through. A definite gold medal chance and certainly a medal hope all round. And next to him, Colin Jackson at 32, not the oldest man in this final, but he was in the final of the World Championships in 1987. Can you believe that? He's won a gold, a silver and a bronze at this level. He's won the European Championship 3 times. He's won the Commonwealth Championship twice. He's a great favourite. He's the world record holder, and he really has a chance here to add to a very impressive collection of medals. This man, Florian Schwarthoff, like Jackson, is in his 4th World Championship final. He's been in every one of the World Championship finals in the 90s. He's been the German champion on 10 occasions. Very tall athlete, was 4th 2 years ago, and 3rd at the Olympics in 96, where I think he was probably at his absolute top. I don't think he's going well enough to win. 2 Cubans in the final. So 2 Americans, 2 Cubans and 2 Germans. Joel Hernandez at 21 is the youngest man in the final. Second in the Pan Americans behind Garcia, the other Cuban, won the World Junior Championship in Sydney. Now, what about that Sydney form? We've seen Obegualo earlier, and now Hernandez coming through. Outside chance of a minor medal. A lot can happen in the hurdles, though. And in lane 8, the 36-year-old Tony Dees, who was second in the Olympic Games in 1992, where one of the big upsets when Mark McCoy came through to win. And 8th in Stuttgart in 93 in Jackson's world record race. He's had some troubled years, but has come back strongly this year. I'm going for Jackson to beat Ross and Garcia.
Well, I hope you're right, because Colin Jackson's almost an Australian. He lives in Manly for most of the summer, trains at Narrabeen. He was the winner in Sydney and Melbourne, but Duane Ross just shaded him. I should say Garcia just shaded Jackson in the semi-final, and Ross won the other. It'll be between those 3. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The question for Ross will be, can he handle the pressure of the major championship final? Schwarthoff's been there before.
Those young Cubans, we're to watch for those with Garcia and Hernandez, particularly Garcia. It should be lanes 5, 4 and 3, but so much can happen. The run to the first hurdle, so important here.
Well, it looms so large in front of these athletes. If you can get a good start and get that, keep clean, you've got a great chance.
Jackson from 5, final of the 110 hurdles. And braking, Hernandez in lane 7. Let's hope that's the only break for all sorts of reasons, because the hurdles have had a lot of problems at the start. That was a clear break, no problems there in terms of the call, but I'm sure these athletes would love to just get it on now. They've done their warm-up, they've got themselves ready. Pressure now on that young man at 21. The man outside of him, Tony Dees, is 15 years older than Hernandez. High hurdlers have had the ability to keep going at a ripe old age, haven't they? Foster was one that was a great hurdler, and Kingdom was going strong too late in his career.
Jack Pearce was another one who was, like red wine, got better and better as the years went on. Well, Colin Jackson, we do feel he's like an Australian, don't we? We'd like to see Kyle van der Kuip there, but without him, our hopes ride with the Brit.
Going from lane number 5. So down in their blocks, Singer, Bauza, Garcia. There's Bauza, fast starter. Garcia 3, Ross 4, Jackson 5. Schwarthoff, Fernandez, Dees. The world record holder in the middle here, in the final of the 110 hurdles. On the blocks, almost set. Clean start, Jackson away well. Ross got away beautifully with Garcia. Jackson and Ross early. Dees away pretty well. Jackson going strongly at halfway. Looks a winner. Garcia coming home hard. Jackson holding them. I think Colin's going to win. Yes, just from Garcia and third Ross. Well, the director's gone for Garcia, but I reckon Jackson's got him. It's close. It was a desperate dip. It's 13:06.
Well, they all ran a tremendous race, the first 3. And Garcia, Ross and Jackson, I think you're right, Bruce. Garcia and Ross came to him, and Jackson's got it.
13:04 the time. It's pretty quick, isn't it? Great cheers go up from the Brits. 2 world championships now for Colin Jackson. Gee, Garcia's a man to watch. It was a great final. It was a contest, wasn't it? Jackson was always in the front running. 13:07 for Garcia, running a Cuban national record, so 3/100ths of a second between the gold and the silver. And Colin Jackson, who's one of the great high hurdlers of all time, certainly for longevity, and he's the world record holder. He got the good start.
He got a great start. So did Ross. Garcia not so well away, and at this stage I think Ross just in front of Jackson. It was a great race, and Garcia came at them. When they got to the 7th hurdle, I think Jackson was third, but his strength and his experience brought him through. Great hurdle there. He was clean. That was the difference between him and Ross. Garcia just struggled. Jackson, fantastic dip, and he got the gold.
Yes, he's a great favourite. It was a desperate lunge towards the end. See Ross knocking them down. Still knocking them down, Ross. And Colin knew here he had to lean and lean hard, and he did in Garcia and Ross and Dees. The first 3 men have run very quick times. Second and third, their fastest ever. Going into the first.
Well, just watch Colin Jackson. The first has been the problem for him, but he's changed his starting position. We saw that in the early rounds, leaning back. Let's have a look here to see if Ross and then Garcia get to him. Perhaps Garcia just. Jackson looking to get that lead leg down as quickly as he can. And Ross smashed the last. That put him out of it. Jackson dips. He's the world champion.
Well, what a tumultuous year it's been for him. His training partner, Ross Bailey, who looked to be a great young British hurdler, tragically died this year. And Colin felt that deeply and sincerely, and yet he's been able to get himself together. And I reckon he'd be thinking about a whole range of things. Look how emotional he is right now.
6 years between world titles. The one thing he doesn't have in his medal collection is the Olympic gold medal, and this sets him up magnificently. He knows what Sydney's all about, and gee, you'd love to see him do it, wouldn't you, next year?
Would be just terrific. No doubt about that. The Americans will come back very strongly. The Americans will come back very strongly. There's no question, Alan Johnson, but this is a terrific performance by Colin Jackson. Wonderful effort. Sebastian Coe's going to join me just for a moment because Seb knows Colin so well. Sebastian, this is a great result for the Brits and for Colin particularly.
Terrific result for Colin when he came into these championships with a good chance, but obviously some very talented athletes this year, and his form this year has been good, but on occasions he's looked a little bit suspect, but he came to this championship in particularly good form, and his concentration beforehand, he's not really let anything interfere with him. He's training's been terrifically disciplined. and really has enjoyed it.
I mentioned Ross Bailey, his training partner, who died so tragically earlier this year. Ate a sandwich that had a peanut in it.
Well, I mean, if it was a huge loss and a shock to British athletics, it was actually a trauma to this guy, because he was his training partner. He knew him extremely well. They'd spent a lot of time together. He was actually a mentor to him as well, and had been grooming him really as a replacement for a year and a half. And this one will be for Ross.
Longevity is so impressive with Jackson. Made the final in Rome in 1987 and now wins again in 1999.
Well, that again is the mark of a great champion. That you know, you don't do it once, you don't do it twice. It is a repetitive pursuit of excellence, and that's what he's good at. The other thing about him is he is actually an absolute stickler for the style. He really does work very, very hard. He's probably one of the most technically competent hurdlers since Ronaldo Neymar.
Interesting, because he's such a good bloke, but he was controversial last year not going to the Commonwealth Games. He runs for Wales there, made a late call, faxed the team, said, I'm not really in the best of shape, and copped a lot of criticism back home for that, didn't he?
He did cop a lot of criticism, but the thing about Colin is he's always been very honest about his own form. He's not what I call a kit carrier. He won't come to a championships just simply because they're there. He wants to perform, he wants to perform to the highest level, and the standards he sets for himself are far higher than any standards that are likely to be set by Olympic qualifying times.
Do you think he has a realistic chance of going on and being a major player next year at the Olympics? That's the one he hasn't got. That's the one he really now wants after this second world title.
It's the one he hasn't got. It's the one that still rankles with him. He feels that he's had opportunities to win that title. It will be pushing it because, of course, he is right at the upper end now, and in terms of career, he's 31, 32. He's got what he will have going for him next year is a massive amount of big race and championship experience, and that does count. But he's also been a little bit injury prone in the last few years, and he will be looking to hold this together. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he really decided that this was probably one of the last races this season, and he'd be sensible to get into his Olympic preparation. Thanks
for that, Seb. You'll join us later. So Colin Jackson winning the final, the gold medal here in the men's 110-metre hurdles. And confirmation of the result in the final of the high hurdles. Colin Jackson winning the gold medal over Anier Garcia and Duane Ross. The 9th event.